I want to go over this commercial dining assignment. But before I get into it, I do want to mention that moving forward, these tutorials are going to begin to be less kind of hand-holding, less me telling you exactly where to click, what to type, and me giving you more time and more kind of the freedom to begin to learn the software on your own. I think at this point, and if you followed all of the tutorials, you now have a basic foundational understanding of how the software works, which is good. Now, you probably don't feel like an expert, as I would imagine you do, but you could probably get yourself out of a problem or two. And that's really where we need to that's a really good starting point to take off because at some point, you really need to learn how this software and any software when you're learning speaks, kind of like the language. How do you problem solve through it? Because no matter how much experience you have, you're going to run into issues, and so you will need to learn to figure out kind of how to get past those issues. How do you solve those issues? And just kind of learn from all of those setbacks, right? It's absolutely normal to go through them. We all go through them. And I think this is a good time for me to kind of take my hands off a little bit and let you begin to kind of explore and design and create on your own. So moving forward, these tutorials are going to be less kind of directive and more suggestive of what you can do. Okay. But again, just the goal here, not with seven, but just when you're learning or when you're using a software, the goal is always to say, I have something I want to achieve, knowing the commands that I know, how can I achieve that, right? Or maybe I jump on, and do a quick Google search. Now that I have a better understanding of the terminology, I can use Google to do, a much more direct search, right? Or you could search YouTube. I'm not leaving you on your own. Obviously, you guys can always reach out to me and ask questions. But I do want you guys to begin to kind of navigate your way through the software, right? I do want to make a note though. I want you to always remember that there's no one way or no correct way of creating geometry in Rhino. Okay. If you got the geometry you're looking for, then that's what that was the way to do it. There are multiple ways to create forms and multiple ways to create the geometries. There is no one correct way, right? It's just how do you know what tools do you know to get the job done? And then you just go for it. Okay. Um, okay, so moving forward, this commercial dining assignment it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The idea is that this box here is some sort of dining space, and we need to create three kind of surface types or wall types using different form techniques for each wall, right? So you could use the loft command, or you could use the loft techniques. You could use the sweeps. You could just do a extruded curve, or in this case, the tween curve and then extrusion, right? Or a mixture of the two. But the idea is that you've come up with three different wall types, and each one is using a different technique, a different strategy, um, based on the previous tutorials on creating these complex curved wall types, right? So for example, this one here was used just creating the loft. So if I delete that, you could actually see the lines. And I do want to make a quick note. Let me go into my top view. When I draw these curves, let's go. And when you're drawing any of these curves, I actually recommend that you go into your top view, turn off your snaps, and I actually start somewhere in the middle of the wall. Okay. And then you go ahead and you draw the curve that you want, and then you end somewhere in the middle. Okay. And the reason for that is because we can then use the trim command, select the whole thing. Actually, let's select, oh no, that should work too. Hit enter and click there. and click there. Okay, and then we're done. And that's to ensure that the curve ends exactly at the wall, right? And that there is no kind of small gap, um, but instead it's finishing right along the edge. Because the last thing you're going to want is a lofted surface with a little gap right where the wall and the surface meet. So that's how I go about creating the any curvature that's already set between these kind of interior boundaries. Okay. So yeah, this one was a loft. This one over here was actually using the sweep one command. Let's see if I delete it. The way I did this, here you can see the rail, but I actually created three different profiles, right? With the bench acting, with the bench being the one thing that doesn't change, right? So I kept the bench the same exact dimensions on all three profiles, but then I just adjusted each profile after that. And I was able to get this. And then this one here was the extruded or the tween curves with the bench or with with the eating, um, oh God, what am I, countertop bench. I'm totally blanking out on the name, and I'm sure you guys have it and you know it. Yes, well, the eating bench table thing that sticks out of the wall, that's what I created. And then just use the Boolean difference to go into this wall. Now, you do not have to create the same thing that I've created. I'm not asking you to. I would recommend that you don't. I want you to go ahead and start designing, start creating, start manipulating, do something, try something, and see how that works, and then see do you like it. Um, you want to get really good at using these commands. And that only just comes with practice. Okay. And then that's it. You're going to do the three different wall types, save your file, and then submit the file as a Rhino file, and you're good to go. That's what this commercial dining assignment is. Okay. So if you have any questions, feel free